The process of selling your home is changing. With interest rates reaching just above 6% and inflation continuing to peak, the idea of selling your house has changed entirely from just a couple of months ago. And in today's video, I want to walk you through that process to help you understand what today's market looks like as a seller so that you can still maximize price in the shortest amount of time possible. Now, whether you're a seller just looking to sell your house and move up to another property, or you're a crasher and you believe that the housing market crash is coming, you're looking to maximize price now and buy back at a lower price sometime in the future. Either way, you need to understand the market that we're headed into, the market that we're in at the moment, because it has changed. And in order for you to maximize profit in this market, you need to understand exactly what's going on. And the very first thing I want to be clear on, and that you need to understand as a potential seller, is this isn't the same market from 6 months ago. So when you were having conversations with your neighbor 6 months ago about them selling their home, they received, multiple offers, hundreds of thousands of dollars above the asking price, the buyer waiving everything. You can't go into this market as a seller believing that you're going to have the same experience. Hopefully you do, but I will tell you that is a recipe for disaster to start this process. So understand that the market has changed. Rising rates has affected affordability, which has affected buyer demand. At the same time, we've seen more inventory come to the market and stay on the market because of that drop in buyer demand. And seasonality has played a part in that as well. Coming into the spring season, more inventories on the market. So now there is more competition out there. A couple of months ago, or 6 months ago rather, your neighbor's house might have been the only house in the neighborhood for sale. So while they were getting multiple offers and things were selling well above the asking price, that's no longer the case in most markets out there. Now, one thing I want to be clear, real estate is local. So understand your market. If you're still the only house in a market, then things might be a little bit different than what we're going to discuss today. But in most markets, you now have some competition. But either way, affordability is definitely playing a part on buyer demand. And what I mean by that is the monthly cost has jumped nearly 40% for most well-qualified buyers out there. So it is quite a bit more expensive today to buy a house than it was just a couple of months ago. And this is going to affect how people approach your property as a seller in this market. Another thing I want to touch on early in this video is patience. Patience is key in this environment. Everybody has been watching, HGTV over the last couple of years. Everybody's been talking again to their neighbors, to their friends, whoever has bought or sold a home over the last couple of years, and they have a misconception of a normal market. The market that we've seen over the last couple of years wasn't normal by any means. How fast things moved, how quick buyers had to make decisions. That isn't normal. And so now that things are changing, sellers are starting to panic, right? They're a little bit more worried that their house isn't going to sell at all, that they're never going to find a buyer. And it's just because of this shift, this change. And patience in this market is key. As long as you're doing the things that we're going to talk about here in just a minute, you're going to be setting yourself up for success. But understand, as the market continues to evolve, it continues to shift, it continues to change, days on the market are going to go up. So you're not likely to sell your house the first weekend, and that's okay. You might not sell your house in the first 2 or 3 weekends, but that doesn't mean your house isn't going to sell, and it also doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to achieve your price, which is going to take me into the first thing I want to talk about, and that is pricing your home correctly from the start. Now, sellers out there, in my experience, always think their home is typically worth more than what the market will bear. And over the last couple of years, many of those sellers have been able to get away with that, which is only added to the idea that they were correct to begin with. But that was a different market. In the market that we're in at the moment and we're continuing to move into, things are moving a little bit slower. And, I've always been a real estate agent that likes to price homes at what I think they're worth. And that's been difficult over the last couple of years because we didn't know what a home would sell for. In many cases, we would price it at what we thought it was worth, and it would still sell above that price and sometimes significantly over that price just because of the amount of buyer demand. Well, as the market shifts, and we're seeing it at the moment, getting back closer to fair market value, closer to where the last property sold, is going to be key in helping the seller get their price in the shortest amount of time possible. And what I mean by that is that if you had a property that was similar, with regards to size and bedrooms, bathrooms, maybe it was a model match property and it sold, back in, say, February, that is more of the comp you should be using today. As interest rates rise, it's about pricing properties at the last comparable sale, maybe even a little bit less than the last comparable sale. As interest rates go up, that affects affordability. And you're not seeing those month-over-month price jumps like we did a couple of months back. So I believe that you have to price a home closer to where the last one sold. And like I'm suggesting, if there's competition in that market, other homes on the market at this time, look at what they're doing. Maybe in order to be competitive, you need to price a home below those other homes. I still believe in this environment you can't underprice a home, but you can definitely overprice one. And I'm seeing homes that are priced too high. They're sitting on the market longer than they would have had they priced correctly from the get-go. Now, depending on your price point, this is going to be one of the key things that determines how quickly your home sells. I'm still seeing homes at the lower price points, the more affordable price points in my market. That's homes that are priced under, $600,000-$700,000. Now, for many people across the United States, that's probably a crazy number. The lower price points in our market are those $600,000 to $700,000 price points, anything lower than that. And so there are more qualified buyers in those price points, right? Because the higher you go up in price, the less people can actually qualify for those prices. And even though the 40% jump in payment is relative, regardless of whether you're buying a lower price point or a higher price point, the lower price point is less affected. Because then you have the buyers that were maybe looking a little bit above that $600,000 to $700,000 price point prior to this adjustment in rates. Now they're saying, you know what, that jump in rates has affected my payment too much. I'm actually just going to buy something a little bit smaller. And so now you had the buyers that were already in that price point, and now you've added buyers that were maybe searching at a higher price point. They've said, you know what, we're going to look at lower price points, and now you have more buyers in those lower price points. So if your home falls into one of those price points, now again, as I mentioned, real estate's local, so depending on where you are, that price point is going to be a little bit different. But in my market, if you're in one of those price points, you can still, I guess, be a little bit more aggressive on your pricing, but you still shouldn't get greedy. You shouldn't be shooting for the moon on price. You should still be pricing it at fair market value. But I do expect those price points to move a little bit faster than, the $1 million, $1.5 million price points, unless you've got a unique property, in one of these price points and it's priced aggressively. Chances are it's probably going to take a little bit longer to sell. It's going to take some adjusting on the price to figure out where you should be. And that's okay. It's okay to have price improvements. It's okay to reduce the price over, a couple of weeks. It doesn't show weakness. It doesn't show, that something's wrong with the property. It just shows that you're adjusting to what the market is doing. And that's going to continue to be the case as we move through summer into the fall. Things are likely going to continue to slow. Now, unless interest rates pull back significantly, I don't see, the market changing significantly, which means I think homes are still going to sell. The days on the market are still going to rise. It's still going to be a seller's market, but sellers, you need to work with buyers. It's not the market for you to be super aggressive and super greedy and not being willing to work with someone. I'm selling my property as is. I'm not doing anything. Okay. Maybe that's one approach, but it's probably not the best approach when there's more competition out there, there's less buyers. It makes more sense now as a seller to get back to the fundamentals, the things that you would have had to do a couple of years ago in order to work with buyers mutually to get to, the goal, if you will, of selling the property. And the last thing I want to talk about in today's video is, as a seller, something you can do to stand out in this market is be willing to pay for points. for buyers. Now, you might be saying, well, what does that have to do with selling my home? Well, in some cases, your home might be sitting on the market, it's not moving, and it's priced correctly. Maybe you feel like it's priced right, it's priced based on the last comparable sales. Well, you could have your agent put remarks in the MLS, this is something I'm doing at the moment on different listings, and say that the seller is willing to pay for points in order to buy down the interest rate for the buyer. How does that help? Well, it helps with affordability, right? Now, the buyer obviously wants a lower price in most cases, but at the end of the day, if you can get them a lower monthly payment, the payment is what they look at every single month. And in my experience, if you're willing to pay some money and help them buy down the interest rate, not only could it help them qualify, it might be setting your property up, apart from other sellers in that market. And it might be an opportunity for a buyer to come to you versus going to someone else. So just something to think about if you're considering selling your property. Now, I'll touch on these things one more time as I've mentioned them in the past, but if you're considering selling your property, just make sure you have a place to go. If you're going to rent, make sure what you're looking to rent is out there and that the payment makes sense to you. If you're looking to buy something, make sure that what you're looking for is out there. Even though inventory has increased, there's still not a oversupply of homes. So, finding the right property might still be difficult. So just understand you need to know that what you're looking for is actually out there in the market, because the last thing you want to do is sell your property and not have a place to go. But if you're someone looking to take advantage of the market and sell your property, do me a favor, check out this video here. I put a list of questions together that you have to ask yourself in this market when selling your property. So check that out. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate the support. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.